For years, Simon Cowell has been the face of reality TV talent shows. From American Idol to Britain's Got Talent, his razor-sharp comments and uncanny ability to spot stars made him both feared and admired. But behind the smirk and the headlines, Simon's world has been unraveling in ways fans never expected. Whispers of devastating accidents, hidden health struggles, and shocking industry feuds were only the beginning. Then came the news that hit closest to home, his young son Eric facing a heartbreaking diagnosis. Suddenly, the unstoppable Simon Cowell was forced to make decisions that could change everything. At his peak, Simon Cowell wasn't just a TV judge, he was the kingmaker of modern pop culture. His sharp wit and no-nonsense critiques shaped careers, from Kelly Clarkson and Leona Lewis to One Direction. When Simon spoke, the world listened, whether they loved him or hated him. Ratings skyrocketed, contestants broke records, and he became a millionaire many times over. His presence on American Idol, Britain's Got Talent, and America's Got Talent wasn't just entertainment, it was dominance. But what made Simon stand out was more than his criticism, it was his eye for talent. Acts he backed consistently turned into global sensations. Even when his delivery was cutting, his instincts were unmatched. Audiences tuned in week after week just to hear what Simon would say next. His raised eyebrow and brutal honesty became cultural trademarks. Behind the scenes, Simon thrived on control. He built a reputation as the executive who could turn unknowns into icons, and he relished in his role as the unshakable authority of the entertainment industry. Yet while he looked untouchable on screen, cracks were beginning to form. Whispers about his health and his relentless work schedule started to circulate. Still, no one could have predicted that the strongest blow to Simon's empire would come from his personal life. Despite his commanding presence on television, Simon Cowell's health began sending him warnings that not even he could ignore. In 2020, he suffered a devastating back injury after falling from an electric bike at his Malibu home. The accident was so severe that he required major surgery and months of recovery. For someone used to being in control, Simon suddenly found himself vulnerable, relying on others to help him through the simplest of routines. But that wasn't the only health battle. Over the years, Simon began experiencing crippling migraines, so intense that they often interfered with his filming schedule. To cope, he started wearing unusual red-tinted glasses during shoots, designed to reduce the impact of bright stage lighting. Fans noticed, and speculation about his well-being grew louder. Combined with whispers of burnout and overwork, the once untouchable Cowell seemed human for the first time. Still, Simon tried to keep his signature composure. He laughed off retirement rumors, claiming he would only quit if he stopped believing in new ideas. Yet the physical toll was undeniable. For someone who thrived on long hours and late-night projects, the reality of slowing down was hitting hard. And while these health scares forced Simon to rethink his lifestyle, nothing could have prepared him for the heartbreak that would soon hit much closer to home. The most devastating chapter in Simon Cowell's story wasn't about television, fame, or fortune. It was about family. His only son Eric was diagnosed with a developmental delay at a young age. For a man who had built his entire empire on ambition and control, this was something no amount of money or influence could fix. Rumors quickly spread, with speculation ranging from neurological conditions to more complex disorders, though Simon himself kept the details private. What insiders confirmed was that Eric struggled to reach developmental milestones at the expected age, something that weighed heavily on Simon and his fiancée Lauren Silverman. Suddenly, the harsh critic known for tearing down contestants with a single sentence was facing a reality that humbled him completely. Eric's diagnosis became the turning point in Simon's life. Work, ratings, and power, all the things that once consumed him, suddenly felt less urgent. He began missing filming commitments, spending more time at home, and reevaluating what truly mattered. Friends noticed a softer, more reflective Simon, one whose sharp wit was giving way to vulnerability. The once untouchable TV mogul had finally met a challenge greater than any he had faced in his career. And as Simon struggled with his son's condition, another tragedy in the entertainment world threatened to push him even further into grief. For Simon Cowell, his connection to the boy band One Direction was one of the proudest achievements of his career. He wasn't just their producer, he was their mentor, their father figure in the industry. That's why the sudden and tragic loss of Liam Payne hit Simon with unbearable force. At just 31 years old, Liam's shocking fall from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires sent shockwaves through the music world. For Simon, it was personal. He took to Instagram with a raw message, writing that he was devastated, heartbroken, and empty. Those words revealed a rare glimpse into Simon's private grief. He described Liam as more than just an artist. He was like family. The tragedy forced Simon to reflect even deeper on his relationship with his own son, Eric. Losing Liam reminded him just how fragile life could be, and how precious every moment with family truly was. Industry insiders noted that after Liam's passing, Simon became more withdrawn, often absent from Britain's Got Talent tapings as guest judges filled his seat. Fans were stunned to see Simon so vulnerable, but behind the grief, he was already beginning to transform. The loss of Liam combined with Eric's diagnosis was reshaping him into someone the public had never seen before. The sharp critic was becoming a softer father, and the change was undeniable. The world first met Simon Cowell as the tough, unapologetic judge who rarely cracked a smile. But as his personal life shifted, so did the man on screen. Fans began to notice moments where Simon, once the harshest critic in the room, was breaking down in tears. On America's Got Talent, he wept during a performance by Michael Ketterer, a pediatric nurse and father of 5. Struggling to find words, Simon admitted, "As a dad, I get it." His vulnerability shocked viewers who had never seen him so raw. Another emotional collapse came when the Mzansi Youth Choir sang Nightbird's "It's Okay" as a tribute. Tears streamed down Simon's face as he whispered, "This is hard," leaving audiences stunned. Even earlier, after the loss of his own mother, Simon couldn't hold back his emotions during a contestant's performance of Jealous. The man once seen as cold and calculating was openly grieving on live television. Fatherhood had changed him. Suddenly, every young contestant reminded him of Eric. Instead of tearing down performers, Simon found himself offering encouragement, imagining what it would feel like if it were his own child on stage. This softer, more compassionate Simon wasn't a weakness, it was a revelation. And offstage, the transformation was even more profound. Away from the spotlight, Simon Cowell was discovering a new role, being a dad. With Eric at the center of his world, Simon began embracing projects that reflected their bond. Together, they dreamed up a children's book series called Feuds, inspired by imaginary animals they created during bedtime storytelling. For Simon, it wasn't just a project, it was a way to build memories and share something magical with his son. Eric also began making occasional appearances alongside his dad at red carpet events. Fans were surprised by the boy's growing confidence, smiling and posing despite Simon's efforts to shield him from too much attention. At talent show tapings, Eric would watch from the audience, bursting with excitement at the live performances. To Simon, seeing his son's joy was more meaningful than any ratings chart. But Eric had dreams of his own. Obsessed with music, he told Simon he wanted to play drums in a rock band, and even audition for Britain's Got Talent. Simon, half joking, called it total torture, but admitted he was secretly proud. Still, he hoped Eric would one day follow his path behind the scenes, perhaps as a producer. Fatherhood gave Simon something work never could: perspective. But beyond their family projects, Simon's focus was shifting towards something far bigger than entertainment. Simon Cowell may still sit behind the judge's desk, but his life priorities are no longer the same. Fatherhood and personal loss pushed him toward philanthropy and advocacy. One of his biggest commitments has been supporting medical research and charities for seriously ill children. As a patron of Together for Short Lives, Simon helped launch Children's Hospice Week in the UK, raising funds and awareness for families facing unimaginable struggles. He also began speaking openly about his own lifestyle changes. Gone were the endless late nights and workaholic tendencies. Instead, Simon embraced biking, Pilates, and more time at home. His circle of friends noted a man who valued peace over pressure, family over fame. Of course, there were still controversies. His experiments with vitamin infusions and alternative therapies raised eyebrows, with critics accusing him of chasing pseudoscience. But for Simon, the focus was less about appearances and more about feeling present. For Eric, for Lauren, and for himself, the mogul who once thrived on chaos was now carefully choosing projects, working only when ideas inspired him. Fame and fortune had given him everything, but it was fatherhood that gave him purpose. And with Eric's future uncertain, Simon knew his true legacy wouldn't just be built on TV ratings. Simon Cowell's story is no longer just about the man who redefined television talent shows. It's about the transformation of someone who went from ruthless critic to devoted father, from workaholic mogul to reflective philanthropist. His son Eric's diagnosis forced him to confront life in ways he never imagined, reshaping his career, his emotions, and his priorities. Fans who once tuned in to hear his brutal one-liners now watch in awe as Simon breaks down in tears during heartfelt performances. Those moments reveal the softer side of a man who for decades hid behind a wall of sharp comebacks and raised eyebrows. The question remains, is this the beginning of Simon's retirement, or simply a new chapter where family comes first? He insists he won't quit unless he loses passion for the work, but his actions speak louder. He's already scaling back, choosing projects more carefully, and investing energy into causes close to his heart. Whether he remains on our screens or steps away, one thing is clear: Simon Cowell Cowell's greatest creation isn't a hit band or a TV show. It's the bond he shares with his son, a bond that has softened him, saved him, and changed him forever. And for many, that transformation is more powerful than any golden buzzer moment.